Good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
I am a detective with the Shreveport Police Department and the Youth Services Bureau. The Youth Services Bureau is commonly called juvenile. We handle juvenile victim crimes, missing persons, runaways, harassing phone calls, and cyber stalking, human trafficking. Today we're going to talk about missing persons with a concentration on Alzheimer's and dementia, which we consider special circumstances in these instances. As you can see, I put a clock on the first slide. That is because the most important factor is time. The faster that we can get the information for the missing person, the faster we can get started looking, and hopefully the faster we can get them back home. Information needed on the initial call. In this instance, especially dealing with an Alzheimer's or dementia patient, this is an emergency situation. There's no special number, it's 911. We need to know this as soon as possible. We're going to need to know the person's name, their date of birth, and a physical description. Height, weight, hairstyle, do they have a beard, do they not have a beard, are they wearing a wig, or anything like that. We're going to need clothing description as well. What kind of shirt are they wearing? What kind of pants are they wearing? Is it long sleeve, short sleeve, shorts, slacks, jeans, things like that. Are they wearing a coat? Are they wearing hats? Things like that, so we can pick them out. We're also going to need to know any special circumstances right off the bat. If this person does have Alzheimer's or dementia, because that raises the level of the response. If it's just a normal missing person, patrol will arrive and they'll ascertain whether they need detectives to arrive or not. If it is a person with Alzheimer's or dementia that is missing, we'll be getting a call a lot faster to show up. And that'll raise the amount of resources that we can call in. Things like silver alerts, contact the fire department. They have drones, contact CATO. They have drones, things that we can use to get more officers, to get more eyes out there to try and find the person. We need to know the time frame that the person has been missing. That gives us an idea of how wide to make our search. If they're in a car, it's going to make a big difference. If they're on foot and they've only been gone for an hour, it makes it a lot smaller distance that we can concentrate on. We need to know if they have any weapons with them. If they're in a car, do they have weapons in the car? If they're a person who walks around with a weapon, which is perfectly fine in the state of Louisiana, if you have a weapon, we just want to know about it before. Do they have a vehicle? What kind of vehicle? What's the make? What's the model? What's the license plate, most importantly? In Shreveport, we now have what is called LPRs, license plate readers. These go through a real-time crime center, also our traffic division uses them. So if we have a license plate, we can put that in to be flagged, and at multiple points in the city, there are permanently stationed license plate readers on poles. And also our traffic division has them on their vehicles that it will automatically read. If it pops up, they'll know. They'll turn around and they'll try and stop that car, contact that person. Cell phones. Cell phones are wonderful things for contacting, but they're also wonderful things for tracking, because most cell phones have GPS. And as detectives, we can do what's called ping. So we will contact the carrier of that cell phone and have them ping the location, and it will give us anything from 5 meters to 1,500 meters, but it gives us an area to search. Specifically with Alzheimer's and dementia, they have a tendency to wander, as I'm sure you know. So we need to know if there are any prior instances of this happening, and if there are, where were they located? You know, if they, specifically with Alzheimer's, what time frame are they operating at? Did they go to a previous job that they held? Personal experience, I've dealt with an elderly male who was beating on the door of an elementary school because he thought he was late for class at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's just the reality of what happens. They get confused, they go to certain things. If we have this information, we can find them fast. So patrol is going to be the first point of contact. When you contact 911, you're going to give them all this information. The first person that's going to show up to your door is going to be a patrol officer, okay? We need somebody to stay at the home. Okay, I know everybody's gonna wanna get out and search and that, but we have to have a point of contact at the home. That way, if that person comes back or somebody calls the house or whatnot, then officer is there with that person, response is faster. Preferably the person who called, but it does not have to be. It just has to be somebody who is aware of the situation and has knowledge of the missing person. We need photographs. So keep up-to-date photographs of people, okay? That's one of the best things that you can do. Because a visual search is gonna be our easiest thing. Now, I know not everybody thinks about taking photographs, and not everybody likes to take photographs, but try and take them. The easiest thing are on your cell phones now, because those can be emailed to detectives, and we will use those to create flyers if we cannot find the person initially. Make sure you notate any differences between the photograph and the person now. Specifically with men, do they have a beard in the photograph and have they shaved since? Or have they grown a beard since they took that photograph? Have they gotten a pretty severe haircut? Have they gotten any kind of scars since then? You know, things that would be different so that we can see them at a glance. We're gonna get additional officers to circulate the area. Now, unfortunately, it's busy here in Shreveport, so we'll get as many as we can, but it doesn't always mean we can get a bunch. But they will start circulating the area. That's why that photograph is good, because we can get it out to the officers fast. That way they know who and what they're looking for. Detective will be notified if it, in these situations, with special circumstance, per policy. So as a detective, I'm on call, I get a call stating that I have a however old female who has gone missing. She's been gone for about 2 hours and she has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I already know I'm getting dressed, I'm going out to that call. I will be contacting that officer. What was she wearing? Where was she seen last? How long ago was she seen last? What direction was she going? Was she in a vehicle? Was she walking? Is it possible that she'd have gotten on a bus? That's always a good thing. If you have someone that rides a bus frequently and they're missing, let us know. Because we can go down to Sport Train and they can pull up every camera in every single bus going back, and we can locate when they got off that bus. And that gives us a very nice small area to search as opposed to all of Shreveport. When you go to, when the officer gets there, they're gonna have you fill out 2 forms. The first form, or you're not gonna fill out, but the first form they're gonna fill out is the NCIC entry form. NCIC, we'll go through later, is the National Crime Information Center. That means that we put this information, it is accessible by every federal, state, parish, or county, and local law enforcement agency in the country. So if you have a person that is found in Phoenix, Arizona, and they left from Shreveport, it will pop that they're missing from Shreveport. And then we do what's called a BOLO, which is be on the lookout for officers for patrol. And that goes to all patrol officers at that time. Things that patrol is going to consider when they first arrive, of course, we're going to worry about Alzheimer's and dementia, especially with elderly patients. With Alzheimer's, we're going to ask questions like, what time frame are they working at? You know, where did they previously live? Where did they previously work? Those are places that we can go and search. What neighborhoods did they previously hang out at? These just gives us ideas of where to search. With children, we've got developmental disabilities and adults, or autism. Autism is kind of important because, especially with children, we have to know if there's a body of water close. And I know from experience that older people that are on the autism spectrum act the same way. So we need to know, is there a body of water close? Because that's probably where they're going to start hitting. Also, we need to know, are they verbal? Are they nonverbal? You know, can they communicate? What is their level of functionality? Because we need to know when we approach them the best way to approach them. Medical issues, that's going to be a big one. Do they have any life-threatening conditions? High blood pressure, congestive heart failure, cancer, anything like that. What is it? COPD?
COPD.
Yeah, COPD. We need to know these kind of things because that kind of raises the level of what we're doing, because if they need heart medication or something like that, we know we've got a shorter time frame in which to find them. Also lets us know, check the hospitals. I had a missing person last week. By the time I was called, this person had been in the hospital 2.5 hours already. So we're going to be working with the hospitals to try and get them to contact us or contact the family a little faster. Environmental issues are mostly just, especially in elderly people, heat or cold or severe weather, because we're about to get to the 95 in the shade time with 100% humidity. So let us know. All right, so the National Crime Information Center is accessible by all law enforcement in the United States. All missing persons that are reported to law enforcement are entered into this system. And they stay into this system until they are either located or removed for some other factor that you can probably figure out. The officer will fill out the NCIC form. What you will fill out is called the Missing Persons Affidavit. What that's going to do is that's going to state your relationship to this person. It's also going to have your contact information, your driver's license number, your address, and things like that. What that is saying, just like any affidavit in a legal proceeding, is what you are saying is true. That's what you're attesting to, okay? And that also makes you the contact person for this case. Some of the resources that I have as a detective and other detectives have is our public information officer, which I love both of them. We send them things all the time. They're the ones who contact the news. If I have one that's especially emergent, I can contact them at any point in time, and I can get a photograph and a description of a missing person out within, David, about 30 minutes or shorter. Now, we don't do this without y'all's permission. Any release of information, we will get your permission prior to releasing it, okay? So if you don't want your family member's photograph on news, we won't put it, okay? If you don't want any information on the news, I don't suggest that, but if that's your wishes, we won't do it, okay? It'll only go to law enforcement, and everything is gonna go to law enforcement. We have a real-time crime center in Shreveport now, which is awesome, because they are starting to get a lot of cameras. A lot of these cameras are Ring cameras that people are allowing the real-time crime center to be able to get into their feed, which is awesome. When people are just kind of wandering, they can see them on a video and they know what address that video is at, and that will help the patrol respond. Also, you have neighborhood or apartment complexes and things like that. If people are just wandering, they can see them on the camera, get to us right away. I already talked about the license plate readers. We have Silver Alert, which is run through the state police, and I'll talk about on the next slide. And also the surrounding agencies will be notified. This is especially important if they have a vehicle. That's why we need that information for that vehicle. So make a copy of the insurance card or something. We can find out the tag from that. Take a picture of the tag, make your little file, or if this ever comes up, I know Ms. Paulette has a little thing added to you that's got information that we need, and we'll break that down in a bit. Louisiana Silver Alert Act is basically, it states that missing senior citizens or missing person with developmental disabilities, the first couple hours are crucial. So they went and they developed a program so we can get this information out farther and faster. Okay, so This is going to be in especially emergent cases. We need that, or in these emergent cases, that is going to it's not just going to be an email it's going to pop up and say, attention. And every law enforcement officer in Louisiana is going to get this email saying, attention, this is what we got, this is what we're looking for. It'll give what kind of medical conditions they have that we need to be aware of. So if somebody leaves Shreveport and they're found in Homa, they need to know, what do they need to get checked out for? Because that's going to be one of the first things they do, is get the fire department and check the person out, and if need be, take them to a hospital. And this, of course, is run by the Louisiana State Police. Now, I mentioned flyers. We make flyers for most missing people if we don't locate them quickly. And that's what a flyer looks like. The summary is gonna have, what are the details around this person going missing? It's also gonna have a physical and clothing description, and it's gonna have where the last place they were seen, how were they seen traveling, and what direction were they traveling. These are all information we know. And at the bottom, we have their name, date of birth, their race, their gender, and what report number. This goes to law enforcement. So when I create this, I email this to law enforcement. The information is going to go to the media along with the photograph. So KSLA, KTBS, our PIOs are going to contact them and say, this is what we got, here's a photograph. They're not going to put out a bunch of information. They're not going to put somebody's date of birth usually on the news, but they will put their name, they will put the description, their clothing description, if they're in a vehicle, what kind of vehicle, what's the license plate. Because we do actually get a lot of calls on these where people see, hey, I think this is that dude, we're over at Waffle House off of Monkhouse. So that is very helpful. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
We got signed up with the sheriff's department,
Mm-hmm.
and my husband has a little bracelet that he wears, and it has a number on it, like he has his own personal number.
Yes, ma'am.
And then I think the sheriff's number's on it.
Mm-hmm.
So is that?
It's not something that
that's as good
SPD
as
has
this?
of right now. It's something that I know Lieutenant Bowman is looking into. We're also looking into creating a database that is, we have what's called a report management system that officers will have access to. So when they get contacted to these houses and what these people, they can look it up and they can see prior instances and any kind of notes. Also, that you can contact the Shreveport Police Department communication, that's dispatch. Ms. Paulette has a non-emergency number and the instructions on that. And you can tell them, okay, I want to put a flag on my address. I have a person here I'm caretaker for. They have Alzheimer's. What's a physical description that they have? What kind of medical things they need? What kind of triggers do they have? Especially with someone with the autism, with bipolar, and sometimes with dementia and Alzheimer's. Certain triggers do certain things to people, make them react a certain way. We would like to know these so that we don't make them react a certain way if possible. We want everything to go as calmly as possible. Now, you are limited to 300 characters on these flags. So it needs to be the most pertinent information. And you can contact that number, tell them you want to flag your address, and an operator will work with you on the best information to get. And hopefully we will do the bracelet thing soon.
Should I share my story?
If you'd like to. Yeah, we're taping it.
No. When we're not taking it.
Okay, so I gave Miss Paulette just a little printout of information we need, a little bit more broken down. And I know that we're gonna look at possibly a pamphlet or something that you can keep at your home. That's gonna be a little bit easier to, if this happens, you can just kind of go down a checklist, all right?
I have those to pass out. You want me to pass them out?
Yeah, that's fine. It's mostly the same thing I've already told you. Couple of things to notate. especially nowadays, is that Uber and Lyft stuff that is real easy. We need to know if they have access to that. And if possible, if you have access to their account, you can track, did they get an Uber, did they get a Lyft, something like that, and we can track them where they were dropped off. I know air tags have been brought up, and those are a good thing. The only downside to an air tag, it has to have a Wi-Fi signal to even work. But cell phones are their own signal most of the time. Well, let's say their net is wider than an air tag. So just a cheap cell phone would be great, because then we can ping and get a better location.
I'm guessing that my husband doesn't use a cell phone.
Yes, ma'am.
Doesn't carry a cell phone. He doesn't carry a wallet because most of the time he leaves it at home. So I have all this stuff in my purse.
Yes.
He doesn't, he'll go off. He's gone out of the house before, but he's not gone very far, like to the corner and back. And I always watch him so he doesn't go out of the house.
Yes.
But it probably is a good idea to get the bracelet with his information.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
on.
Contact Caddo,
Well, I
sure.
live in Bossier.
Contact Bossier, see if they have that same kind of program. Okay. You don't even need to wait for a program like that. You can go get a metal bracelet, relatively cheap nowadays, and have this information engraved on their name, their date of birth, and a contact phone number.
Yeah, okay.
The gentleman that I spoke of that was at the hospital previous to me being even called, he was walking down the street and fell, so the fire department got called. And that is actually kind of, in my experience, and I'm sure in yours, especially someone with severe dementia, we get the call because you got somebody walking down Lyon Avenue lost. And people will stop to help. Not everybody, but people will stop to help. So if you want to get you a little bracelet for them that'll have that information, that person can call you, say, hey, I'm here with David. This is where I'm at. And prior to you even calling law enforcement, you could already know where they're at.
And I am working with someone who has GPS watches that will lock and are waterproof on them as well. So I'm gonna be in contact with them to see, they've been physically trying them out to test them to see how well they work. So once I get that information, we'll share it with everyone too.
Now they've even got smartwatches for the old time pocket watch. They have a smartwatch version of the old time pocket watch. So if you have someone that doesn't like something on their wrist, they can just in their pocket. You can sew air tags into clothes. You don't have to put it in their pocket. You can sew it into the tongue of their favorite shoes. You can sew it into the lining of a jacket. You give them a phone, that's a constant signal to that air tag, makes it real easy for us to locate, makes it easy for y'all to locate. Y'all can even call us. My family member is at Olive and Centenary. All right, patrol officer's gonna go over there, they're gonna contact them, they'll stand by until you show up. If medical attention is needed, we will contact the fire department and have them do what they need to do. It doesn't even have to go, people say, as Ms. Paulette brought up before, well, they normally just come back, stuff like that. Here's the thing. It takes between 30 seconds and 1 minute to fill out the email and send it to remove somebody from the National Crime Information Center. That's it. So report it fast. There's no 24-hour wait period. There's no time frame you need to wait. If they're missing, you don't know where they are, you can call us and we will be looking for them. I don't want to wait an hour because we have had instances in a short time frame that something bad has happened. They've been injured or worse. When, well, we just thought she would come back. Don't wait, just call. It's not a waste of our time. You're not pulling resources away from anything. This is what these resources are for. So utilize it. Anything else?
Well, I'd like to say I was in this unit for 4 years and I investigated quite a few elderly dementia folks who have walked off. The biggest problem I have always come in contact with, they don't have a photograph. So as he said before, DJ said before, make sure you have a photograph. That is very important. And also, to go back over driver's license or your car license plate number. Let us get that number. A lot of people, we don't know what it is, and all of a sudden it's 2 or 3 in the morning, and it's hard to contact your insurance to try to get that, so we can get that silver alert. So the Real Time Crime Center or LSP can help us with the license plate readers. Because at one point I had a guy, they reported the man missing 3 hours later. After we got the information, started getting it going, he's in Memphis by the time that we end up tracking him. So it happens so fast. And again, with the air tags, that is such a great resource. Yes, it's limited. You need to have some sort of, be around somebody with their Bluetooth on for it to start pinging, but it's a great resource. If most people, they will not wear the bracelets. They will only just leave with what they have on there. If you can sew in their clothing or their shoes, definitely do that, because they're not going to wear the electronic bracelets or GPS. It just, in my experience, what I've seen, they just don't do that.
It's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable.
They don't want it. So there are other things you can do. That bracelet, you can sew that bracelet on the inside of a jacket.
Yeah, that's just
When we
a simple
contact
thing.
somebody, we're going to kind of look at them. It's an officer safety deal. Something shiny is going to get our attention. There we go. We got their name, their date of birth, and the contact phone.
Yeah.
You can use a pair of pliers too, so the bracelet won't come off.
Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and
instead, you
the
can-
ones from the Caddo Sheriff's Office, they're very hard for me to get them off.
Mhm.
So the dexterity and things of someone with dementia, that it's not there, so they can't take
Sure.
them off.
Yeah.
So, and that's a good thing. And the biggest thing is, like you said, report it as soon as possible, because the longer you wait, there's no telling, that person could be endangered. I had a guy on the Cooper Road area. He was 90 years old, has dementia. His caretaker went inside for not even 5 minutes, and he's gone. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with that area, but there's a lot of woods in that area. And this was a scary situation
A lot of
because
ditches.
it was about 2 or 3 hours before they reported it. So at this point, we've gone through the motions, notified Sport Trim. Maybe he caught the bus. He does wander off. He will get on the bus. Is he in the woods? We're getting drones to find this individual. The drones, one had thermal imaging that did not work. The other drone we had did not have that. So we're still looking. The dogs, tracking him with dogs. It took a long time, and the next day is when we end up finding him in the woods. So time is very critical, and those temperatures got down to under, it was like 38, 40 degrees that night. So this guy was in the woods, scared, didn't know what was going on, but he survived, which was a good thing.
Well, I'll give you the same advice that I gave people when it came to TVs, firearms, and the like at their home. Make a file and update it regularly. Take a photograph of them. They may not like having their photograph taken. Take it. They'll get over it.
Yeah.
Have all this information on this thing written down. So when you call, all you gotta do is, okay, this is their name, this is their social security number, this is their date of birth, this is their license plate, this is their driver's license, this is the type of car they drive, this is, what kind of rims does it have? Does it have any dents? Does it have a whole bunch of bumper stickers? Is it tinted? Things like that. What kind of jacket do they always wear? They wear a blue jean jacket. It's got East Side Boys on the back or something like that. I don't care. I've seen it all. All that information right up front makes it a lot easier for us to locate this person. Because the more information we can get out, the faster, the more eyes we have looking for that one person.
Yeah, I know that person. Like, I had a guy, he worked on the railroad for 40 something years, and he wandered off. He started going to the railroad tracks, and we just happened, we went to the railroad tracks and we found him. So it's just, that was his place of habit. That was where he was going, because it's been on his mind. He worked there his whole life. So knowing that person, knowing where they worked, knowing where they grew up, what house, if they lived in South Highlands at one point where they grew up, or now they live in Broadmoor. So it's just knowing where they're from, where their mindset was, and what's been going on with them. So, and that helps. It helps us find them, locate them, track them, because it's hard. That's the hardest of all the I've done investigations from homicide to harassing phone calls, and missing persons is the hardest one, because you have an aged person, it's time sensitive, and we need to find them because something's wrong with them. And so getting that information to us as quick as possible helps us find that person. So.
Any
that's my 2
questions?
cents.
Yes, ma'am.
When you get there.
So this is not necessarily to deal with missing persons, but a lot of our caregivers are wives and husbands have guns.
Mm-hmm.
How can they effectively take those guns out of the house? When, you know, I mean, we're in Louisiana, we have lots of hunters, handguns, concealed
Oh,
carries.
yes, ma'am, this is sportsman's paradise.
Yeah.
It is a concern. I don't believe we have any red flag laws yet in Louisiana to where you can get a judge to order the guns out of the house,
Okay.
but y'all are both married. You can buy a safe.
And if you know his
There's
mental
nothing in the law
capacity
that says
is
that you have
not,
to give them the combination to that safe.
Right.
if his mental capacity is not there, get rid of it.
Yeah. Get a family member to come in
Yes.
and get the guns out.
Okay.
We
Or
will pick
if you
it
don't
up,
have a
we will
family
seize it
member,
if we need to.
If I remember correctly, I think that Bass Pro Shops will come and install a safe. They'll put it in for you. And these things are heavy. I have one in my house.
Oh yeah.
There is nothing that says you have to tell them the combination to that safe. Now, I'm a big advocate of people having weapons to defend themselves. But if you do not feel safe with that, then you do what you need to do to make yourself feel safe. Especially with someone who has some sort of mental issue, i.e. Alzheimer's or dementia, because the problem is, while it may not be real, it's real to them. And they will affect a response to a threat that they feel is real.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
What about this, like, real-time crime center, who's in charge of that?
I do not know who the director's name is. I have a card for a guy, but it's several people. Sergeant Mike Jones is the SPD liaison over there. But we can, when we have missing persons and it's, we get a call, especially on this, we're gonna contact the real-time crime center and say, we're looking for a black male. He's approximately 6 foot tall. He's approximately weighs about 160 pounds. He was last seen wearing a yellow flannel checkered type shirt and gray slacks. Last seen walking this direction on this street. And so they'll start checking their cameras. They'll start going back. We give them a time frame. They will actually go back to see if they can pick it up on camera right there, and they will try and follow that person. Same thing with sport training. If we know a bus stop that they like to go to get on, they will go back and they'll watch video until they see that person. They will track and let us know, okay, this person got off of this bus at the center and then got on this bus, and the last time they were on was at Pines Road at 7:05. That's when they got dropped off.
So it's like camera system?
Yes,
Captain Eatman he's over it.
Is it Kevin?
The manager is Kevin. I think his last name is James. I cannot remember.
Yeah.
But it's Kevin something.
but yeah, and they're it's a real good thing. And a lot of the cameras that they're getting now are Ring cameras that people have on their houses, and they're allowing the real-time crime center to access this feed, which works great in these neighborhoods because that's how we can find a lot of these people. Because they're gonna walk right in front of a camera and not even know it. Anything else? Thank y'all very much for having me. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, DJ, you said that they can call ahead, we can be proactive and call ahead and call dispatch
And have your address flagged.
and have your, so these are the steps if you wanna write them down, and the phone number. So I, you know,
All right,
all
so-
these suggestions that everyone's giving, I would do all of them
Yeah.
that you can.
So
that
the
you
phone
can.
number you're gonna wanna call is 673-7300. That will get you to an automated system. That is our non-emergency line. You're gonna listen for option number 3. Option number 3 is dispatch. When you contact the dispatcher, you advise them you want to speak to somebody at dispatch about having your address flagged.
Is that just Shreveport?
That's just
That's
Shreveport.
just Shreveport Police Department.
I can get you the one for Bossier.
I was
Yep.
saying,
Yeah.
I need that.
Yeah, I'll
I
get
need
I'll
that
get you
one.
Bossier's.
Wait a minute.
Well, somebody might ask you, you have it right
I know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And it should be about similar things. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna give the address and the reason for the flag, okay? I have my husband here, he has dementia, he has a tendency to wander. He is a white male, he is 5'11", he weighs approximately this, he has white hair, he has a beard, he has a tattoo of Popeye the Sailor Man on his right bicep, you know, something like that. Another thing, medical conditions and triggers. And I'm talking about medical conditions other than just Alzheimer's. Do they have congestive heart failure? Do they have COPD? Do they have high blood pressure? Things like that. That information, even though you're going to our dispatcher is the Caddo 911 center. Okay, so that goes to, that information is accessible by us, by Caddo Sheriff's Department, Shreveport Fire Department, and Caddo Fire Department. Okay, so if they have that medical need, we're gonna know that right away, all right? The reason these things are good is because when we get dispatched to a call, we have a mobile data terminal, a laptop in our car. And we are dispatched these calls, it pops up on a screen, and any flags, any notes will pop up when that address comes up. So when the officer reads it, okay, I'm going over here, this is what I need to know.
And one thing, we also, you know, in our reports, and we do have a database with SPD where we found that person. So if that person does wander off, where was the last place they were found? So a good chance they might be going back to that same spot. So always remember where they wandered off to.
Now you are limited to 300 characters on a location flag. So
But
they will.
who's typing?
But I'm
that
just
up?
saying,
The
keep
One
that
of
for your
the
own.
one of the call takers or one of the dispatchers, teletype, one of these ladies that they all work all three stations.
Okay,
So
so
they'll
they're-
work the call takers, so they're the ones receiving the 911 or these calls. They'll also work as dispatch. They're the ones who relate the information to the officers. And they also work with teletype. Teletype is the one that they submit the information to NCIC and things like that. So they all do it, so they'll all be able to work with you on what's the best thing, what's the best information. You can tell them 50 different things. They'll work with you to find the 5 things that are the most pertinent at that point in time. Physical description and name and date of birth, some of the most pertinent. We need to know.
I was just about the guns.
No, go ahead.
Do you alter the guns to where they can't shoot?
Well, what you can do is they sell trigger locks, okay? I don't know if you've ever seen a trigger lock and tried to get it off. It takes tools, a lot of them, and a lot of work, and you're gonna ruin your gun trying to do it.
I've
But
seen people
these
that
are
will
key.
go
These are
buy
key.
new guns if you take away their guns.
Mhm.
And I've
Oh,
seen
yeah.
people that'll. so
Well,
they
here's the
won't
thing, when you
think
have
they
someone
have
who
a
has
gun.
dementia or Alzheimer's, and they have been diagnosed as such, that means they've gone to a psychiatrist, okay? A lot of times. When they do, you can talk to that psychiatrist about getting that information, because when a gun is sold at a store, a pawn shop, or a gun show, they still have to do the background check, okay? And if the doctor is giving that information and it gets flagged, they will not sell that firearm. Now, downside is we live in Shreveport. There are people who sell guns illegally here, okay? You can only do what you can do. You can invest in gun locks for your firearms. You can invest in a safe. You can invest in all sorts of things. You can have family come in and remove every single gun in that. If they're determined to get it, we will deal with it when we deal with it.
But my other question was, when you find them, where do you take them?
99% of the time, we take them home.
Okay. There's not a
No.
policy you have to
No,
take
there's
them
no
to.
policy saying if we get a call about somebody with Alzheimer's, we're gonna take them to the hospital.
We'll have the fire department check them out
Yeah.
first.
Fire department will
And-
check them out. If there is a medical need for them to go to the hospital, they will go to the hospital. Okay? If we determine that there is a significant danger to their life by their own actions, we will take them for what is an emergency commitment. That is, in SPD's case, taking them to LSU Oxford. Now, these last for 72 hours, but that's dependent upon the doctors at LSU. All we can do is get them to them, okay? Then the doctor will evaluate them and see if they need to stay.
Do they need to be handcuffed or anything?
Our policy states that they will, but I'm gonna tell you the truth, the officer determines. I've had people in their 90s that I have had handcuffed and leg ironed, because just because they're 90 don't mean they can't punch and don't mean they can't run. And I've had people that I've just sat in the back of my car. I'm extra cautious when I'm dealing if I don't have them handcuffed, but that's something I do on myself and other officers. We take it upon ourselves. I don't want to handcuff somebody's grandmother just to take them to the hospital. If I can talk them into the back of the car and get them calm and go, then I will. But if I've determined that they need to go and they don't want to go, they're going to go.
And most of the time, the fire department will transport if
Especially somebody elderly,
Yes,
but not always.
not always.
So no, we're not gonna wanna try and handcuff them, but it is a possibility that it happens if the need arises. Good?
Yeah, it's all great information. Any other?
Thank y'all very much for having us
questions?
here.
Yeah, thank you.